Seoul Land 2 EP75 Preview. Huo Yuhao, a disabled person, participated in the Seoul Fighting Tournament. He and Su Tianran, who also used a wheelchair, shared a sense of camaraderie. Representing the Tang Sect, Huo Yuhao released his Snow Empress Soul Spirit. His formidable strength astounded everyone as he defeated 3 opponents in a row. Continuing from the last episode, the new Seoul Fighting Tournament began. The first match was between the Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineering Academy and the Dragon Slaying Sect. The first to enter the arena for the Sun Moon team was Meng Hongchen. Representing the Dragon Slaying Sect was a vigorous young man. After the match began, Meng Hongchen walked forward casually. 6 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple and 2 black slowly rose. After a few rounds, the young man from the Dragon Slaying Sect fell to the ground. Meng Hongchen's Juqing Bingchan poison had become even more potent. Moreover, with 6 rings against 5, she easily crushed her opponent. Meanwhile, Wang Donger whispered to Huo Yuhao, "Meng Hongchen's abilities have improved a lot." She continued, "The 2 siblings' soul power is at least above level 65. The match continued. Soon Meng Hongchen, relying on her poison abilities, achieved a 6-win streak. To avoid injury when the Dragon Slaying Sect's captain entered the arena, she voluntarily admitted defeat. Ultimately, she couldn't achieve the feat of defeating 7 opponents single-handedly. In the end, without any surprises, the Sun Moon team won the individual elimination round, directly eliminating their opponents. After watching this match, the Tang Sect members had many thoughts. Su Sancher looked at Huo Yuhao and asked in a low voice, "If our Tang Sect were to face the Sun Moon team, who would be the most suitable to deal with Meng Hongchen?" Huo Yuhao chuckled and said, "Of course it's me." Everyone knew that Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice wasn't afraid of poison, so naturally, there was nothing to worry about. Suddenly a cold voice rang out, "If there's a chance, I want to try." The speaker was Jianqi Jijuechen. Jijuechen's attitude was serious, his eyes burning with passion. Meng Hongchen's strength made him want to draw his sword and face her. The following matches were exciting. Because there was no second chance for revival in the elimination round, every team gave their all, unleashing their abilities. Huo Yuhao saw another familiar face enter the arena. Princess Wiener and Mu Shui of the Heaven Do Empire. They were both members of a sect called the Snow Demon Sect. After Mu Shui made her move, the Snow Demon Sect successfully advanced. On the first day, the fierce competition created a tense atmosphere among the teams. Many teams advanced to the next round, but many also suffered defeat. The eliminated teams silently departed. The Tang Sect's match would take place on the second day. After the Tang Sect members returned to their hotel, Zhang Lishuan sought out Huo Yuhao. He told Huo Yuhao that the Body Sect was also participating in the tournament. Huo Yuhao was surprised to hear this because the last time the Body Sect raided the Mingda Hall, they suffered heavy losses. During that raid, he took the opportunity to take the Snow Empress and the humanoid soul tool. Huo Yuhao didn't expect the Body Sect to dare to come. Zhang Lishuan continued, "The Body Sect's higher-ups have also secretly infiltrated Mingdu. It might be to protect their disciples, or they might have other motives." Zhang Lishuan warned Huo Yuhao to try not to provoke the Body Sect members. Huo Yuhao smiled and said, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I understand that principle." At the same time, Zhang Lishuan said, "Shrek also has strong individuals here," telling Huo Yuhao that he didn't need to hold back too much in his usual actions or during the competition. Huo Yuhao's eyes lit up upon hearing this. He said that this was good news. The night passed uneventfully. The next day arrived. After another round of intense competition, the referee announced, "The next match, Tang Sect vs Earth Dragon Gate." Both sides entered the waiting area. The referee called for the first contestant to enter the arena. Hearing this, the Tang Sect members started to move. Wang Donger pushed Huo Yuhao's wheelchair toward the waiting area. On the other side, in the main stand, Su Tianran's eyes widened. He said, "Why is there someone in a wheelchair?" He himself used a wheelchair. Seeing someone else in a wheelchair about to compete, his attention was naturally drawn. Zhu Zi followed Su Tianran's gaze, but she could only see the side of the person's face. For some reason, her heart tightened. Wang Donger pushed Huo Yuhao onto the field. The entire audience erupted in an uproar. Even the referee was dumbfounded. He asked in confusion, "Tang Sect team, what is the meaning of this? Are you sending this disabled person to compete?" Wang Donger immediately retorted, "Who says he's disabled?" What she hated most was people calling Huo Yuhao disabled. The referee's face darkened, but he didn't get angry. He asked if the Tang Sect was indeed sending someone in a wheelchair to compete. Huo Yuhao calmly replied, "That's right. It's me. If you please." The young man from the Earth Dragon Gate was equally stunned. With a smile, Huo Yuhao pushed his wheelchair with one arm, wheeling himself towards the side of the competition stage. Suddenly, the young man from the Earth Dragon Gate shouted, "Aren't you even going to announce your name?" Huo Yuhao calmly stated his name. The young man nodded and said, "I'm Su Shinshu. Remember who defeated you?" With that, he stomped his foot, and his figure flashed 15 meters away. Huo Yuhao continued to push his wheelchair unhurriedly, thinking to himself, "This guy really has no competition experience." Su Shinshu's actions clearly revealed that he was a power attack type soul master. In the main stand, Su Tianran waved his hand, ordering someone to investigate Huo Yuhao's background. Perhaps out of empathy, Su Tianran then said that regardless of the outcome of the subsequent matches, the referee must ensure Huo Yuhao's safety. He didn't notice Zhu Zi, who seemed to be in a daze, her eyes glistening with tears. On the competition field, the referee announced the start of the match. Su Shinshu shot towards Huo Yuhao like a cannonball. While airborne, 5 soul rings, 2 yellow and 3 purple, rose around him. His martial soul was quickly released. The soul masters of the Earth Dragon Gate all had various Earth Dragon soul beasts as their martial souls. Su Shinshu's martial soul was called the saber-toothed Earth Dragon, a pure power-type soul beast with both offensive and defensive capabilities. As he charged forward, his first soul ring lit up. A thick layer of keratin covered his entire body. In a few steps, he was within 20 meters of Huo Yuhao. Watching this scene, the audience members wondered, is it necessary to be so brutal against a disabled person? Seeing his opponent charging, Huo Yuhao certainly wouldn't just sit there and wait. A white light flashed on his body, and the petite figure of the snow girl leaped out from Huo Yuhao's forehead. About 3 feet tall, around 2 years old, adorned in jade bracelets, and wearing a small belly band. Su Shinshu, who was about to pounce, was stunned at the sight of this adorable little girl. What's going on? He wondered. He hurriedly changed his course. After all, he was there to compete, not to kill. He couldn't bring himself to hurt such a cute little person. The snow girl said in a sweet, childish voice, "Uncle." Su Shinshu's heart melted upon hearing this voice. He subconsciously replied, "Ah." Suddenly, Su Shinshu saw the little girl's tender, small hand pointing at him. Then he felt a wave of extreme cold wash over him. He turned into an ice sculpture and crashed to the ground with a thud. After releasing her soul skill, the snow girl happily flew back to Huo Yuhao. Sitting on Huo Yuhao's shoulder, she cheerfully shouted, "Daddy." Huo Yuhao's heart trembled upon hearing this. He remembered the warning the Snow Empress gave him after regaining consciousness. However, he couldn't help but adore this little snow girl. At this moment, the entire audience was silent. Even the Tang Sect members didn't expect Huo Yuhao to summon the Snow Empress soul spirit in the first match. The other members of the Earth Dragon Gate were also dumbfounded. This outcome was beyond their expectations. Looking at the snow girl, everyone was filled with questions, speculating about what this little person truly was. Ultimately, they all agreed that the snow girl was Huo Yuhao's martial soul. After the referee finished his inspection, the snow girl finally thawed Su Shinshu. With a dejected look, Su Shinshu walked off the stage. As he passed by Huo Yuhao, he said angrily, "You're too despicable. How can you bring a child to the competition? Aren't you afraid of hurting her?" Huo Yuhao helplessly thanked him, saying that Su Shinshu was a good person. Soon, the second member of the Earth Dragon Gate stepped onto the stage. This person's name was Feng Ju. His martial soul was the Sealing Dragon, possessing remarkable speed. The Earth Dragon Gate believed that the little girl was too adorable to attack. But Huo Yuhao in his wheelchair was a different story. As long as they restrained him, the match would be over. Therefore Feng Ju was sent up. Feng Ju, his yellow soul rings shining, stared intently at the snow girl. He darted forward at high speed, attempting to bypass the snow girl and go straight for Huo Yuhao. Unexpectedly, a wall of ice suddenly appeared in front of him. This sudden ice wall startled Feng Ju. He curled his body, extending his claws forward, preparing to smash through the ice. But the wall was a meter thick, formed from ultimate ice. Its hardness was comparable to steel. He was firmly embedded in the ice wall. The snow girl giggled and a beam of light shot out, turning him into another ice sculpture. Now the Earth Dragon Gate members couldn't stand it anymore. A disabled person had defeated 2 of them in a row. The third member of the Earth Dragon Gate to step onto the stage charged directly at the snow girl. But he too was quickly defeated by the snow girl. The snow girl waved her hands, creating a white ice ring. Then, a thick ice pillar erupted from within the ring. The ice pillar exploded, sending countless shards of ice flying, encasing the opponent's body. When the explosion subsided, He had become an ice sculpture. Some faces were grim, others were filled with amazement. They thought, no wonder he was sent to compete even in a wheelchair. It turned out Huo Yuhao had such powerful support. The remaining 4 members of the Earth Dragon Gate couldn't sit still any longer. The only female soul master among the 4 stepped onto the competition stage. The young woman politely greeted him. Hello, my name is Nan Chio. I know she's probably your martial soul ability, so I won't hold back like my teammates did. She added, I won't show mercy. With that, she nodded to Huo Yuhao and turned to walk to the other side. In the main stand, Su Tianran, who was watching with great interest, suddenly asked Zhu Zi. This female soul master from the Earth Dragon Gate, is she their captain? Zhu Zi respectfully replied. Her name is Nan Chio. She is the strongest member of the Earth Dragon Gate team. Su Tianran then asked about the outcome of this match. Zhu Zi shook her head, indicating that she couldn't predict it. Su Tianran said, both Zhu Zi and Huo Yuhao are disciples of the same teacher. Doesn't Zhu Zi understand his strength? Zhu Zi was shocked to hear this. She knew Su Tianran was deliberately probing her relationship with Huo Yuhao. Zhu Zi said, I've only known Huo Yuhao for less than half a month. My understanding of him is limited, so I dare not presume to judge the outcome. Hearing this, Su Tianran smiled with satisfaction and said, then let us wait and see. Suddenly Jing Hongchun, who was sitting beside him, said, Your Highness, this child cannot be spared. Hearing Jing Hongchun's words, Su Tianran was somewhat surprised. A nobody had actually piqued Jing Hongchun's interest. Jing Hongchun said, Huo Yuhao has caused me quite a bit of trouble. He even managed to escape Long Xiaoyao's assassination attempt last time. He sighed. Huo Yuhao is not only exceptionally talented, but he also knows how to seize opportunities. His wisdom is remarkable. After hearing about Huo Yuhao's deeds, Su Tianran was greatly surprised. The person in black sitting on Su Tianran's other side said, So it's this little brat who made a bet with Long Xiaoyao. This person's voice was strange and androgynous. Su Tianran asked this person, National teacher, you also know this child? Clearly, this person in black's identity and status were far above Jing Hongchun's. On the competition field, Huo Yuhao was unaware that he had been targeted by the higher-ups of the Sun-Moon Empire. His most important task right now was to win this 4th match. As the referee shouted, Begin! Nan Chio instantly released her martial soul and revealed 5 soul rings. A diamond-shaped pink crystal was embedded in her forehead. Pink, glistening scales covered her entire right arm. Then her first soul ring lit up. A pink beam of light shot towards Huo Yuhao. To experience the power of her martial soul, Huo Yuhao didn't have the snow girl block it. He reached out with his right hand, using the Ice Emperor's claw, to grasp at the incoming pink beam. The moment the two made contact, Huo Yuhao's expression changed drastically. He was utterly shocked. An attack that traveled 100 meters shouldn't be too powerful. But this pink beam was rapidly melting the ice crystals in his palm. This was ultimate ice. In terms of elemental advantage, aside from ultimate fire, Huo Yuhao had yet to encounter an opponent that could counter it. Clearly, Nan Chio's ability wasn't ultimate fire, but rather a nullification ability that could erase all attributes. Upon hitting its target, it disintegrated attributes, thus achieving its destructive effect. Nan Chio's nullification attribute was as rare as Huo Yuhao's spiritual attribute. Huo Yuhao then learned that her martial soul was the Rouge Dragon, a subdragon species. In addition to its nullification attribute, it could also perform ranged attacks. At this moment, Nan Chio sneered at Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao hadn't used any abilities yet, not even releasing his soul rings. Only the Snow Girl had been fighting. This led her to mistakenly believe that Huo Yuhao was a soul master with a summoning-type martial soul. It's just that this summoned creature was extremely powerful. Nan Chio's goal was simple: to deplete Huo Yuhao's soul power using her nullification attribute, and thus subdue him in one fell swoop. After the first nullification attack, the second one aimed directly at the Snow Girl. But unexpectedly, the Snow Girl twisted her body and dodged the attack. She even made a face at Nan Chio. Seeing this, Nan Chio was slightly taken aback. She thought, Huo Yuhao can actually control that summoned creature to dodge while defending against my attacks? While blocking the attack, he was also able to control the summoned being to dodge. Little did she know that the Snow Girl was an unprecedented soul spirit, possessing both life and consciousness. After blocking the attack, Huo Yuhao pushed his wheelchair and slowly moved towards her. At the same time, a mental disturbance made Nan Chio feel disoriented. Not only did it distort her vision, making her see double, but it also caused her attack to miss. This was the effect of Huo Yuhao's spiritual interference. However, as the captain, Nan Chio was naturally skilled. After a brief moment of disorientation, she launched another attack. Her third soul skill, Nullification Chain Burst, was unleashed. If it hit, the opponent's soul power consumption would double. Just then the Snow Girl rushed forward. The Earth Sword, Ice and Frostless transformed into an astonishing rainbow. A sword cut through the air, slicing the nullification light orb in half. Nan Chio was startled. This little girl's combat power was unexpectedly formidable. With a thought, she transformed into a pink shadow and charged straight towards Huo Yuhao. Seeing her opponent rushing towards him, the Snow Girl raised her delicate little hand. A ring of ice. An ice ring appeared in Nan Chio's path. However, Nan Chio's body moved in a zigzag pattern, managing to avoid the ice ring and continue charging forward. "Aya!" The Snow Girl cried out anxiously and shot another beam of light at her opponent. This time Nan Chio didn't dodge. A pink light emanated from her body as her second soul skill, Nullification Body Protection, activated, absorbing the Snow Girl's attack. At the same time, her fourth soul ring flashed brightly. A giant dragon claw reached out to grab the Snow Girl. Huo Yuhao and the Snow Girl were connected mentally. The adorable Snow Girl's face turned icy cold, and with a delicate cry, she struck out with her right palm. It was the Earth Palm, Great Frost without blood. As the claw and palm collided, the pink dragon claw disintegrated into countless ice blue light particles and dissipated. Nan Chio stared blankly, thinking, "My attack was actually broken by a summoned creature?" The most potent aspect of the nullification hand was its effectiveness against summoned creatures. It could even absorb the soul power consumed by the opponent and convert it for its own use. But she didn't feel any absorption. After unleashing this attack, the Snow Girl returned to Huo Yuhao's forehead. Huo Yuhao looked at Nan Chio and said, "A very powerful nullification hand." Nan Chio coldly replied, "The Snow Girl is very strong. She's the strongest summoned creature I've ever seen." She then said, "Without the Snow Girl, you should just admit defeat." Hearing this, Huo Yuhao pondered for a moment, and an idea came to mind. He gritted his teeth and said, "The match isn't over yet. Your attribute just happens to counter mine, but I will defeat you." Nan Chio said with a cruel smile, "Oh really? I'd like to see how you'll defeat me." Huo Yuhao pretended to panic, saying that he still had a trump card. Seeing Huo Yuhao's panicked and immobile state, Nan Chio laughed heartily. She found that mentally tormenting her opponent was exhilarating. She then said, "If you lose, join our Earth Dragon Gate." She had taken a liking to Huo Yuhao's Snow Girl. Huo Yuhao angrily retorted, "Impossible." He asked if Nan Chio would join the Tang Sect if she lost. Nan Chio replied, "If you win, it means the Tang Sect is truly powerful. I wouldn't mind joining then." After making this haphazard agreement with Huo Yuhao, Nan Chio struck out with her palm towards Huo Yuhao, preparing to end the match. Suddenly, a smile appeared on Huo Yuhao's face. An 8-meter-long dark gold blade appeared out of thin air. In the blink of an eye, it destroyed her nullification hand and slammed down on Nan Chio's head. "It's over." Nan Chio's mind went blank. Just as the dark gold blade was about to hit her, a green beam of light shot out from Huo Yuhao's chest, pushing Nan Chio back 10 meters. Huo Yuhao retracted the dark gold blade. Nan Chio had already turned into an ice sculpture. From being overwhelmed to turning the tables, it all happened within just a few breaths. Silence fell over the arena. Huo Yuhao knocked on Nan Chio's icy form and called out, "Referee, I've won." The referee was slightly surprised but ultimately announced the result. After thawing out, Nan Chio rushed straight towards Huo Yuhao. However, the referee blocked her path, telling her that she had already lost. Nan Chio roared angrily, "I didn't agree to this. You cheater." The referee frowned and said that Huo Yuhao had shown mercy, otherwise, she would have been killed. Huo Yuhao smiled. "A bet's a bet. Otherwise, you'll always have a knot in your heart, and your cultivation will be hindered." Nan Chio clenched her fists and said that as long as Huo Yuhao was dead, she wouldn't have to keep her promise. She turned to the Earth Dragon Gate waiting area and shouted, "Whoever kills this bastard for me, I'll marry them." Huo Yuhao didn't expect her to be so temperamental. The reason he made the bet about joining the sect was because he wanted her nullification attribute. The remaining 3 members of the Earth Dragon Gate then fought Huo Yuhao, but they all lost. Huo Yuhao achieved a 7-win streak, earning a perfect score of 12 points. Nan Chio couldn't accept this. She charged towards Huo Yuhao but was stopped by Wang Donger. Seeing this handsome young man with long blue hair and a ponytail, Nan Chio stared blankly, her heart aflutter. Her anger subsided considerably. Nan Shui, the leader of the Earth Dragon Gate, brought her daughter, Nan Chio, to the Tang Sect waiting area. She conceded the bet and allowed Nan Chio to join the Tang Sect, but with two conditions. First, they must guarantee that Nan Chio's cultivation level increased by 8 levels within 3 years. Second, they must not bully Nan Chio. Huo Yuhao immediately agreed. These conditions were hardly conditions at all. Wang Dong'er, still disguised as a man, also stepped forward and said, "Joining the Tang Sect will definitely benefit your future development." Looking at this handsome face, Nan Chio became love-struck. It was time for the final match. The referee announced, Holy Spirit Sect versus Tiandu Academy. Both teams entered the arena. Huo Yuhao, who had been resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened them. Looking at the young man in black combat attire who had just entered the stage, he thought, Holy Spirit Sect, Holy Spirit Cult, really is them. They've actually entered the competition. The episode previewed. Huo Yuhao suspects that Ma Xiaotao is in the Holy Spirit Cult. Nan Chio mistakenly believes that Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong'er are a homosexual couple.